If you've spent more than 5 minutes in Minecraft, you've probably been blown up by a creeper, stared an Enderman in the eyes, or wondered why bats even exist. Minecraft has over 80 different mobs, and while they all look like they're made from the same handful of cubes, they don't all behave the same way. Some are completely harmless. Some are friendly until you make one very specific mistake. Others wake up every morning with one goal in mind, making sure your hardcore world becomes a spectator world. Today, we're going through every major type of Minecraft mob, explaining what makes each category unique, which mobs belong to it, and why some of them deserve a hug, while others deserve to stay at least 50 blocks away. Passive mob. Passive mobs are the friendliest creatures you'll meet in Minecraft. They never attack players under any circumstances. Even if you accidentally or deliberately hit one, it'll simply run away instead of fighting back. It's one of the few games where solving world hunger mostly involves playing matchmaker for livestock. Passive mobs don't usually get the attention that creepers or endermen receive, but they're responsible for keeping survival worlds running. Every successful farm, cozy village, and fully stocked storage room probably owes something to these peaceful creatures. Neutral mob. Neutral mobs have one simple rule: treat them nicely, and they'll usually leave you alone. Forget that rule for even a second, and suddenly you're starring in your own action movie. These mobs don't actively hunt players, but they all have their own conditions that can turn them hostile. The Enderman is probably the most famous example. It quietly wanders around carrying random blocks without bothering anyone. But the second you accidentally look directly into its eyes, which somehow happens to everyone, it teleports toward you with the speed and determination of someone who took that personally. Hostile mob. Hostile mobs don't need a reason to attack you. Your existence is reason enough. These are the enemies that transform Minecraft from a relaxing building game into a survival adventure. Skeletons take a completely different approach. Instead of getting close, they stay at a distance and somehow possess better aim than most players who've been using bows for years. Then, of course, there's the Creeper. The Creeper has become one of the most recognizable video game enemies ever created. It doesn't roar. It doesn't growl. It doesn't even make much noise until it's already standing behind you. After spending hours building your dream house, hearing that quiet hiss is enough to make every Minecraft player instantly panic. Hostile mobs constantly encourage players to improve their equipment, enchant their gear, and prepare before exploring dangerous places. Without them, survival mode wouldn't feel much like survival at all. Boss mob. Boss mobs sit at the very top of Minecraft's food chain. The Ender Dragon was Minecraft's very first boss and is still considered the game's main objective. It lives in the End dimension, circling above the central island while healing itself using End crystals placed on towering obsidian pillars. Then there's the Wither. Unlike the Ender Dragon, the Wither doesn't naturally exist anywhere in the world. Players have to summon it themselves by building a structure made from soul sand and 3 Wither skeleton skulls, which means every player has experienced that brief moment of placing the final skull and immediately thinking, maybe this wasn't my best idea. Once summoned, the Wither wastes absolutely no time turning the surrounding area into a disaster zone. Boss fights mark major milestones in every survival world. They're proof that you've gone from punching trees on your first day to taking down some of the strongest creatures Minecraft has to offer. Utility mob. Not every mob in Minecraft is trying to eat you, explode next to you, or send you flying into the nearest lava lake. Some actually want to help. Utility mobs exist to make life a little easier, offering protection or support instead of causing problems. The best-known example is the Iron Golem. They're calm most of the time, quietly wandering around as if they're on patrol. But the second a zombie gets too close, that peaceful stroll turns into an uppercut, strong enough to launch the poor zombie into next week. Players can also build their own iron golems using iron blocks and a carved pumpkin. Then there's the snow golem. It's basically the complete opposite of the iron golem. Instead of punching enemies into orbit, it throws snowballs. They also leave little trails of snow behind them in cold biomes, making them useful for certain farms and decorative builds. Tameable mob. Minecraft can sometimes feel like a lonely game. Fortunately, some mobs are willing to join your adventure. Wolves are usually the first pet most players get. Feed them bones dropped by skeletons, and eventually one will decide you're worthy of becoming its owner. Cats take a little more patience. They're attracted with raw fish and tend to keep their distance until they're comfortable. Once tamed, they happily wander around your home, sleep on beds, and perhaps most importantly, scare away creepers and phantoms. That's right, tiny house cat, professional monster deterrent. Aquatic mob. For a long time, Minecraft's oceans were, well, wet. There were a few squid floating around, but unless you desperately needed ink, there wasn't much reason to dive underwater. Then came the update Aquatic, completely transforming the oceans into one of the most interesting parts of the game. Today you'll find schools of cod, salmon, tropical fish, and pufferfish swimming through rivers and coral reefs. Dolphins are easily one of the friendliest aquatic mobs. Feed one a fish, and it'll happily lead you toward hidden shipwrecks or underwater ruins containing valuable treasure. It's basically the Minecraft version of getting directions from an extremely enthusiastic tour guide. Of course, not everything underwater is friendly. Guardians patrol ocean monuments using powerful laser attacks that become surprisingly dangerous if several target you at once. Elder Guardians are even worse, placing mining fatigue on nearby players, so escaping with treasure becomes much more difficult. Undead mob. Undead mobs are exactly what they sound like. Creatures that definitely should have stayed buried. This category includes zombies, skeletons, drowned, husks, strays, wither skeletons, zombie villagers, phantoms, and zombified piglins. Although they all share the undead theme, each one has adapted to a different environment. Regular zombies roam the overworld. Drowned lurk beneath rivers and oceans. Husks wander scorching deserts. Strays freeze in snowy biomes. Wither skeletons patrol nether fortresses, carrying stone swords that somehow make them even more intimidating. Most undead mobs burn in sunlight, but not all of them. These exceptions prevent players from relying on the same strategy everywhere they go. Illager mob. If villagers represent Minecraft's peaceful side, illagers represent the exact opposite. Instead of growing wheat and trading emeralds, they built outposts, grabbed weapons, and started attacking villages. Pillagers carry crossbows and patrol the overworld looking for trouble. Vindicators prefer axes and solve every disagreement by running directly at the nearest player. Nether mob. The Nether is basically Minecraft asking one simple question. What if absolutely everything was dangerous? From the moment you step through the portal, you're surrounded by lava oceans, giant cliffs, mysterious forests, and enough fire to make you wonder if bringing wooden tools was really the smartest decision. Naturally, the mobs fit right in. Ghasts are probably the first thing most players notice. These enormous floating creatures drift silently through the Nether before suddenly launching explosive fireballs from what feels like half a mile away. They're surprisingly easy to defeat, assuming they don't knock you into lava first. Blazes guard nether fortresses and fire streams of blazing projectiles from a distance. Their blaze rods are one of the most important items in the game, since they're needed for brewing potions and crafting Eyes of Ender. Piglins are one of Minecraft's most interesting mobs because they actually have their own economy. Wear at least one piece of gold armor, and they'll leave you alone. Offer them gold ingots, and they'll happily trade useful items in return. Forget to wear gold, however, and suddenly you've become public enemy number one. Hoglins roam the Crimson Forests and charge players with surprising force. They're dangerous, but they also provide a valuable food source if you're willing to fight them. While Striders casually stroll across lakes of lava as though molten rock is just another sidewalk. End mob. The end is unlike anywhere else in Minecraft. After the colorful overworld and the fiery nether, arriving in the end almost feels unsettling. The sky is dark. The islands float endlessly through empty space, and everything is strangely quiet. The most common inhabitants are Endermen. Unlike in the overworld, they're everywhere. Hundreds of them silently wander across the islands, teleporting instantly whenever they feel threatened. Then there are shulkers. At first glance, they look almost like decorative blocks attached to walls inside end cities, but getting too close quickly reveals the truth. Fortunately, shulkers also drop shulker shells, allowing players to craft shulker boxes. These are some of the most useful storage items in the entire game, making end cities well worth the risk. And of course, no discussion about end mobs would be complete without mentioning the Ender Dragon. Although it's classified as a boss, it defines the entire end dimension. Ambient mob. Finally, we arrive at the smallest category of them all. Ambient mobs. These creatures aren't here to fight you. They're not here to help you. The classic example is the bat. Bats fly through caves, abandoned mine shafts, and underground tunnels, squeaking away as they bounce off walls with what appears to be absolutely no sense of direction. Without ambient mobs, Minecraft's underground would feel strangely empty. There's small details that players often don't notice until they're gone, and those little details help make Minecraft feel like a living world, instead of just a collection of blocks. So those are every major type of Minecraft mob, from peaceful farm animals to towering bosses, from friendly companions to creepers that somehow always appear exactly when you're carrying your most valuable items. Every mob has its own place in the game. Some help you survive, some try to stop you surviving, and some, like bats, are apparently just happy to witness the chaos.